Hi, everybody. It's James of Jamming, the CEO Jimbo show. I have another video on Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a missing flight that went missing about 10 years ago, a Boeing 777. This is sort of my umpteenth video of these. I've lost count of how many I've made. And I'm writing a book on the subject and so on. It's Monday night. I typically make these on Monday nights and then post them on Tuesday evenings. It's 12:15 a.m. I'd forgotten. I've been just really sort of working on music a lot, trying to learn songs and so on, and just sort of um, busy with that. But during the daytime, during the weekdays, I work on my book. Especially, I get maybe a couple of hours or so, if not a little more than that, each day on the weekdays, and a little bit on the weekends sometimes. Anyway, this one is on uh, section 3 of my book on uh, um, navigation. It's called Navigational Nuances and Subtleties. This is my book right here on a tablet. I'm actually writing this on a laptop computer that I use usually at the library during the day, and I transfer it to this laptop computer. Um, um, Kind of to double it up, just so, so if my flash drive goes south, I still have it on this. I have it saved in a couple of other places too. Anyway, this is kind of the real doozy, and I've used this over the years, kind of more to myself than anything else. I sometimes will put like an asterisk, usually like right in front of something here, if I find it sort of like interesting or sort of more unusual, more interesting than anything else. Where I'll have like maybe, out of like 10 um, excerpts or something like that, I'll have like maybe 3 of them will get asterisks or something like that. I think this is kind of a late thought, and I think I just have maybe 1 or 2. But this is kind of the doozy here. If I can even find it again. Yeah, here it is. Chapter 10, Inmarsat, Subchapter 3, Flaws, Part 3, Malaysia Airlines 370 didn't have it. That's my argument, and I'm just really wrestling with that. This is a term I borrowed from an English class, at least one, where you wrestle with the subject that you're writing, and and then come up with a paper and turn it in at the end of the class or the end of the term or whatnot. um, I'm not sure. There's this talk about that the plane had Inmarsat satellite communications, and that the airplane went missing and lost radio contact and lost transponder radar signal. The controllers lost that, but there's people that are kind of saying that the aircraft continued to sort of broadcast, if you will, um, uh, a certain information from this Inmarsat system. They call them pings, and there is the airplanes supposedly will kind of send out a signal, like once in a while. This thing is actually about that somebody recommends that in the future, because this has happened, that these things should be required to like send out a signal like every 15 minutes. So no airliner can ever get lost like this again. That in itself, that implication sort of implies that this aircraft did not have Inmarsat, or we would know where the airplane was. I mean, if it was sending out signals every 15 minutes and, it just ended, we would know where it was when the last ping occurred and go find it. That's kind of what happened, but it wasn't found. People were saying that it, sent off like I think maybe 7 of these pings or whatever, and after the last one, they think that the plane was down south in the southern Indian Ocean, and they searched and searched and searched for months and didn't find it. So it's still lost, and some are saying, well, it's probably down there. They just didn't find it, and some people are saying it's south of where they were searching. Some people are saying it's north of where they were searching, but it's kind of there. This, I can tell where the asterisk was. Yeah. Here it is. It didn't have it. I'm saying that it didn't have it. But I'm wrestling with that. If it had it, it didn't have it completely. It didn't have what they're saying it needed. They're saying that it needed to be sending out signals every 15 minutes. And they're saying that the technology is there, but nobody's using it because it's not required by any mandates on a global basis. Maybe us, folks in the United States are requiring it, but this was a foreign flight in foreign territory and so on. So I'm just starting to write. Like I've gone through all during the last 2 weeks and have been kind of like, I've laid down these excerpts, and now I'm kind of like writing a little bit before the excerpt and a little bit after the excerpt. And some of them are sort of like more punchy than other ones. Some of them are sort of more, robust, and some of them, like I said, are just kind of punchy. This one is kind of a little punchy, so here it is more or less. MH370 didn't have it. I mean, it's almost giddy. Like I don't remember exactly what I was thinking or where I did it, but some of these I was kind of in more of a hurry than other times, and where it's kind of word association where that's kind of what came to mind when I did it. This is what I wrote of the excerpt afterwards. So the technology is there, but one must have it and use it. So it's all based on what they're saying. McLaughlin told CNN that there was no further analysis possible of the data. Sadly, this is the limit. There's no global decision. Even after Air France lost, there was a Boeing it was an Airbus A330, I believe it was. It disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean, southern Atlantic Ocean between Brazil and France. And it was missing for like a year, and they finally found, I think, both black boxes on that one. And they kind of imply that, that they should have learned from that, and this one shouldn't have happened, but this one happened a couple of years later. See, where it took 2 years to recover the plane, it took 2 years to find that one from the sea to make direction and distance reporting compulsory or required. Ships have a log every 6 hours. They have to do that, but aircraft traveling at 500 knots would have to log every 15 minutes to equal 6 hours in a ship. It would be 15 minutes in a plane. And I think they're saying the technology is there, but nobody's using it because it costs money to do that, and they're not required to do that. That could be done tomorrow, but the mandate is not there. So this is applying that MH370 did not have Inmarsat, at least to the caliber of what ships have every 6 hours. I mean, so was this plane sending a signal or not? There's also kind of talk that I think the initial talk from Inmarsat themselves was that MH370 did not have this service at all. It was not an overwater flight primarily, and so because it didn't have the service, you're not going to get any information from it because it didn't have it. And so you're sort of out of luck on that. And then they've kind of changed their story where they did some research for Malaysia government and came up with kind of some statements that that due to their research, they kind of found some things that maybe that it was sending a signal or something. So anyway, that's about all I want to kind of go on that one. I'm just really winging it on here. So I'm kind of really trying to first kind of figure out whether this plane really had Inmarsat or it did not have Inmarsat. I'm trying to basically sort of prove that it didn't have Inmarsat. And even if it did have Inmarsat, the plane is not where people say it is because of the Inmarsat information. There were some things in here. This is a map that I've drawn, and you saw this just last time, and I haven't really changed it at all. I haven't changed it at all. But the center of this is the Maldives, but this is where the plane originated. It took off from Kuala Lumpur and was supposed to go to Beijing, China, way up here somewhere. And it basically kind of went just a little short ways towards Beijing, and then it lost radio contact. The controllers lost radar contact, and just disappeared. And the initial search was kind of like over here somewhere in the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand area, and so on. The first part of my chapter, like when I first started this 2 weeks ago, I was working on radar, and there's kind of, if you plot out they say that there was radar coverage of the flight, that they know that the plane kind of like went from here and then it kind of like diverted out this way to kind of like a spot here, and then turned and came up into the kind of the Bay of Bengal area, and then it kind of like turned south, and they think that it just went way down south, just west of Perth, Australia, and it entered the ocean either via kind of a landing or a crash. That would have been at high altitude and kind of regular cruise speed by the planning of all that. Witnesses have stated that there was a witness like in here, at least one, there was like a fishing boat with 2 people on it, I think, that said that they saw that the airplane kind of down low just right after that it lost radio contact. And then another witness out over here on an oil platform said that he saw it climbing and up high, but not normal height, and on fire a little bit, and the fire went out heading west. And then another person over here in a sailboat said they saw it on fire up high with 2 other planes kind of like above it, and so on. And then there's witnesses that say that they saw it kind of flying low in the Maldives area here for a while. And then a little later, there's witnesses that say that they saw the plane kind of down low, looking like it was either landing or crashing on the water kind of in this area. And there was a lady that said that she saw it on the water, the wings and the tail on the water, like in this area, which doesn't kind of match where, the authorities kind of think it is. They think that it didn't do all that. They think that it just basically kind of did this radar stuff up here up high and then just kind of flew all the way down here and ended up crashing down or landing in the water down here. There's like one guy, where's my, you've seen this before, and maybe you'll never make sense of this because it's kind of obscure. But this is kind of from a college strategy in a book that I read on. It's called "What Smart Students Know," and the author of the book basically said when you're trying to learn a subject, like make it a game, and um, have fun with it, and you'll learn the material a lot better. So I've kind of like done that a little bit, and it's like instead of just listing these in a list of 9 people, I just even picked 9. Just this is like Hollywood squares, and it's kind of from a you know um, my youth, memories of watching TV and seeing this on TV. And I've actually watched on YouTube. There's a lot of videos on the Hollywood squares, and they're really humorous, um, and so on. But anyway, these are kind of the stars of this. These are people that have really kind of like gone out of their way to kind of help find this plane after it's gone lost. This guy is Blaine Gibson, and he's kind of been instrumental in finding pieces and parts. Gone to Africa and the islands east of Africa, and has asked witnesses and all kinds of people about parts, trying to find more and more parts to piece the puzzle together. This guy is an aircraft accident investigator for Canada and wrote a book on this subject, presumably on his own time, since not really his assignment, I think, is kind of what I gather, just because he's got the drive to do it for some reason. This lady is a journalist that covers aviation incidents and accidents, and kind of similar to Vance. I think she just kind of was compelled for some reason to go overboard and write a book about this particular case. This 777 captain, I think he flies for British Airways, or did, and just really thought that his knowledge of the 777 would help people understand what happened to this one, and so on and so on. And this one, I'm still kind of searching his name. Pretty sure it's a 777 captain, and the one that kind of he says that the plane is probably farther south. Wait, go back to this drawing here, and here's Perth way down here, and I think the initial search was actually a little bit south of Perth, and this Godfrey guy, wherever he is, Godfrey seems to think, because of whisper technology, that it's kind of further north of where they initially searched. And this guy thinks that it's further south, and so on. So everybody's sort of across the board on that. At least a little bit here and there, and so on. I think most of these people kind of think that it's down south in the southern Indian Ocean, though. Jim Hall, he was National Transportation Safety Board chairman a while back, and I don't have any idea what his or what he thinks on that. I just saw he was quote interviewed in a video on this, and made a comment about U.S. airlines are far superior in safety than any others in the world. So just be careful and so on, and don't take international flights that are not U.S. Or something like that. That kind of appalls me. That makes me kind of want to write my senators, that if that's the view of my country, it needs to change a little bit, because my country should be interested in finding out what happened. Like if I was on this flight, even though it was an international flight, operated by another country, that they would still investigate it because I was on it, kind of thing. it does open up the fact that this flight was going to China, and I don't think I would have been allowed to go on it anyway, because I think China's kind of off limits to people that that live in the United States. Uh, anyway, this Jeff Wise is a journalist, and he's really sort of like the Inmarsat guy. He's kind of really taken some stuff up on there, and I can't really think I was going to quote him. I have some quotes on him and so on, but it's late, and I'm kind of losing my track here, and it's 20 minutes, and to just kind of add maybe the kind of the winning statement or something like this on this whole piece is that the plane had Inmarsat components in it, but it didn't have the service because it wasn't an international flight over water. It wasn't like it was going just taking off, spending 2 minutes over the land and then all the rest of the time over the water until it finally gets to its destination. It basically had just a little bit of water to kind of hop over, and then it was going to be flying over land most of the flight and so on. So it wasn't really set up for international over ocean flying and so on. May not have even had like all of the life rafts that it would be required to have if it was doing that kind of flying. There's a thing too that I'm working on, kind of an odd one, where the aircraft's transponder either broke or somebody turned it off, more or less. I'm not quite sure. It sounds like the Inmarsat would still work even without transponders, that the aircraft had 2 Mode S transponders. So it would have lost its ADS-B reporting and all that. I'll spare you the details on what that is even, but it's sort of like a satellite tracking thing in itself, as kind of one that the controllers would have had information on. But anyway, so I'm trying to figure out whether this had satellite, the Inmarsat, and it sounds like there were statements in my book. I was working on that where it's like initially the Inmarsat guy said no, it didn't have Inmarsat system, so you're not going to find anything. And then they changed their story and they said that they did research for Malaysia government, and they figured out some things that leads them to believe that it was down in the southern Indian Ocean. And then there's a guy I have a quote on that was involved in that was like in the military or something like that said he like retired or something like that. And after he retired, he's kind of like come forth and he said that it didn't have that or something like that. So anyway, but more on that next time this comes up in just under 2 months. The next one is going to be on kind of the other category. It's communications, timing, and just other things. It involves like people that are involved, places, things like that that just didn't fit in the other sections. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. Please give a thumbs up and be well.